Welcome to The Queen's Lair, a lifestyle podcast. Get inspired by our latest tips and information about small business, entrepreneurship, natural hair, travel, food, and even relationships. Stay tuned for another great episode. I am your host, Renee Patrice. Is your brand a little dull? Are you looking to start a brand, to start a business, and you have no idea where to begin? Contact Onyx Queen Media. We provide lifestyle branding and event planning services to businesses who are looking to expand their lifestyle brands. We collaborate with you to challenge your thinking, processes, and approach to your business. Our method is to assist you in coming up with new ideas and products to create brand awareness and to expand your streams of income. Visit www.onyxqueenmedia.com and we'll be able to help you with any questions that you have. That's www.onyxqueenmedia.com. Welcome back, everybody. We have a special guest. This is the new season of The Queen's Lair. This is season 12, episode 1, and I have Ms. Amy Oraefo, Esquire, with me, and she is an attorney, music publisher, speaker. Amy, welcome to The Queen's Lair. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Renee.
Yes, we are so excited to have you. I know that, when I do have people on the show and, especially women in business, we always want to find out a little bit of background. We want to find out what your specialties are. We're just going to have a conversation about what it is that you do. And we're going to run through some common questions that I usually get from people who contact me, or even sometimes my clients may send me emails asking me questions as well. But I want my listeners, and just to let you know, Amy, we have listeners in Australia, we have listeners in Mexico, we have listeners from the UK. It has expanded so much. So, to all my listeners, thank you so much for tuning into this podcast once again. Let me just give you a little background on this powerhouse lady that we have on the line. Okay. Ms. Amy is the owner, CEO, founder, content creator, and influential speaker. She is dedicated to the outreach and education on legal matters and creative content in the entertainment industry. She is an engaging and motivational speaker who shares a wealth of knowledge on several forums. Okay, so let's get started, Amy. Let's really get down to the meat and potatoes of this, because this is something that I get questions on all the time. One of the main things is when people are starting a business. This podcast really speaks to entrepreneurs of every walk of life. But one thing that people always ask is, well, should it be an LLC? Should it be a sole proprietorship? Like, what is the difference between, what are the major entities that you can choose when you're starting a business? And give us some examples of, how do you choose? How do you know which one to choose?
Okay, so we'll start with the sole proprietorship. A sole proprietorship is not actually a legal entity. So a lot of times when someone wakes up, they have a vision, they have a dream, they have a goal, they say, I'm going to go out and be a consultant in fashion. So then they just start because they have a gift to style. They start styling, but they have not gone to their respective Secretary of State in the state where they live to file an entity. That is a sole proprietorship. So someone is offering a service or a product and they have not created or taken the steps to create a legal entity. So you will hear that phrase. So when people are sole proprietors, know that there's no legal protection. So the next phase we're going through are the actual entities that are in place. So there's called a limited liability company, or referred to as an LLC. So a limited liability company, someone will go to the respective Secretary of State. In Georgia, for example, we go in Georgia and we will file an LLC. So it could be a single member LLC with one person or multi-member LLC. The first entity where someone could look at you when they are establishing an entity and taking the steps to have legal protection is called a limited liability company, or also referred to as an LLC. So an individual will go out and render a service or offer a product, and they want it to be protected, so they will go file a limited liability company, and they will file it with the Secretary of State. And there are members and managers that consist of the LLC. So a manager operates and handles, the key decisions within the LLC, and the members are members of the LLC, but they don't always have the power or control to, make authoritative decisions on behalf of the LLC. So that's one entity. The second one is called a limited partnership or a limited liability partnership, which fall under partnerships, and that consists of a general partner and a limited partner. So a general partner is similar to what a manager is in an LLC, only it's in a limited partnership. The general manager has the authority to bind the partnership and contracts and to make decisions on behalf of the company. And the limited partner, depending on what is within the partnership agreement, may or may not have those types of authorities. And then there's an incorporation. So you'll often hear two types, the S Corp and the C Corp. An S Corp is an entity where it's called pass-through taxation. So as an owner, for example, my company, Oraefo PC, is an S Corp, and it's pass-through taxation, meaning that any profits or losses I have as a business can flow through to my personal taxes and for when I'm filing taxes on my return each year. And then there's a C Corp, which you'll hear companies such as Coca-Cola and larger companies are C Corps. And then those are double taxation. So the shareholders of that company and then the actual company is taxed. So those are just ways of different methods of protection. So I often tell people the sole proprietorship is someone rendering a service, but there's no legal protection. But the way to get legal protection is to go to the Secretary of State of your respective state or jurisdiction and file the limited liability company, file a limited partnership or limited liability partnership, or to file an incorporation to make sure there's protection and someone will not, God forbid, in the event of a lawsuit, be able to come for personal and business assets. You want to limit where they can, file any kind of lawsuit potentially.
So the sole proprietor, and I see so many people with this sole proprietorship going on, and I think people are confusing that between that and like an LLC.
Absolutely.
I think that's where for some reason I really believe, and you're saying that you see that too. I think I've seen that quite a bit. So this is really, really helpful. For the folks that are listening, you guys take heed of this, and if you're swimming around this sole proprietorship, you may want to look into, is the LLC the most common for like a small business just starting out?
Yes, it is. It is the most common. You'll often hear people say, okay, listen, I want to do an LLC because it's the easiest as far as, paperwork and filing, and then even maintenance of the paperwork that's required. So yes, it's the most common structure you will hear for new business owners establishing a company.
Okay. All right. So now that we have all of that, what are the beginning steps when you say, okay, I have this amazing product or this amazing idea? Give us like 3 tips, maybe 3 to 5 tips of what should be the beginning steps to starting a business. Like literally, what is the first thing? Like, I have this product, people have been telling me it's great, I now want to put it out of the market. What do I do?
Absolutely. The first step is for people put pen to paper. Write out the vision, the goal, the service, the product, whatever you're offering, to make sure that it's something you stand behind, you're intentional about, and you're going to offer. And become an expert or create a niche in whatever you're doing. So that's first and foremost. Once you have that out, you confidently stand behind that plan. File an entity. Definitely, this is perfect that we were talking about establishing an entity, and a sole proprietorship just means, somebody said, oh, I have a great business idea and I want to go out in commerce, and they just start rendering the service. They just start baking cupcakes. They start being a bartender, but they set up no entity. So then that's a sole proprietorship. But no, actually take the steps to go to the Secretary of State and file one of those respective entities, an LLC, LLP, or an incorporation. That's definitely the second step. So first step write down some kind of plan or goal. Make sure you get it out of your head and onto paper to know that this is the service I want to offer in commerce. Second step would be establish entity, file it with the Secretary of State. Third step will be protect your intellectual property. A lot of people say, oh, I've come up with great ideas, and they'll talk to people about it, but you run the risk of someone taking your great ideas. So filing intellectual property, filing copyright for those expression of ideas. If you're writing a script, if you're writing a book, if you're writing a song, you want to protect that with United States Copyright Office, and that's www.copyright.gov, and that's COPYRIGHT.gov. And then that is in place. The U.S. Copyright Office is in place for you to file a copyright that will be recognized. So there's someone else says, no, I own the copyright to that script. You're like, no, you don't, because I filed it a year ago or whatever the case may be. Exactly, because that happens quite a bit, right? So, and then there's also the trademark side, so the United States Patent and Trademark Office. So think about trademarks as a source identifier, a brand, a name. So when I hear a company name, when I hear Chick-fil-A, what do I think about, right? When I hear Coca-Cola, what do I think about? They would trademark their respective names. So you file a trademark at the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and that website is www.uspto.gov, and then that is how you will go and file a trademark for your respective company name, your production company, the brand, the name of a product that you're offering, your t-shirt line, whatever the case may be. You will go file the trademark, the actual name of the brand, with the Patent and Trademark Office.
Gotcha. So now, how do we know? I think a lot of people also, they mix up the two, copyright and trademark. What can you copyright and what can you trademark? Can you trademark your name? Can you copyright your name? Like, what are the major differences of what you can trademark and what you can copyright?
That's an excellent question. So you think the easiest way to think of a trademark is you would trademark a name or a source identifier or a brand. So like I gave the example of Chick-fil-A or Coca-Cola before, those are names, right? You're not talking about the services they offer under there, you're just talking about the name. So you're trademarking the name, and then obviously you have to protect what's called the class of goods or services. And in the United States, there are 45 classes of goods and services that are recognized at the federal level. But then when the application is filed, then you can get into the specifics of which classes are being protected, whether it's, fast food chain, it's, merchandise, different categories that are there to be filed, entertainment and education services. So think of trademarks as a brand name, a name. So when you see a name, that's a trademark. So when you see a copyright application, think about the expression of an idea. So you and I are talking, and let's say we came up with a song or we came up with a poem. So it's not a name, but we came up with the lyrics of the song or the words to the poem, our expression of an idea that we put down pen to paper. You would copyright that expression of an idea. So within your expression of an idea, yes, there's a title to a poem. Yes, there's a title to the song. So you're copyrighting that body of work as a whole. Does that make sense? So copyrighting the body of work while you're trademarking the name as a source identifier. Does that provide clarity?
No, yes, that clarifies it well. One thing that I've seen a lot of course, with you having a music background in there, is that really like a big source of contention? I mean, we've seen things in the news where people have come for, other artists that have infringed on their copyright. Isn't it hard to really get down to the expression of an idea? Because when you really think about it, no idea is really original. So how does that work? Like for you as an attorney, how do you differentiate that? How do you know if somebody really has a case? Like if somebody has, taken, an idea?
That is a fantastic question. So that's why it's really important for people to use these laws that we have in place and file any copyright that they create with the Copyright Office, because it often boils down to that point, Renee. They're going to say, well, listen, in the event of an issue or a contentious matter, sometimes let's use in music if there's, timestamp, there's timestamp products and services that show, okay, when a song was created. There's something called Pro Tools and different types of tools that are used. However, that's a common law copyright. You want to have both a common law copyright and what's called a statutory copyright, which means you went to the respective entity, which is the Copyright Office, to go file your song as a composition, the lyrics of a song. And then once it's in this final format, you will file what's called a sound recording, where you would hear referred to as a master, which is the final song that we hear on the radio, that you hear on albums, and now everything's downloaded and streaming, that the song that you purchased on Apple Music, for example. So that is the final sound recording, but you want to protect it at both levels if you own it. So when somebody's coming in as an independent artist, they generally have established their own label, right? They have to do it themselves, and they have to be their own label, publisher, and everything. So they own their masters, they own everything. So then they will go out and they would file a copyright for both the lyrics of the song they created as a songwriter, and then they will file it as a sound recording of the masters, because they own 100% of their masters. So then if they hear the song on the radio and they knew nobody else helped them but the producer that recorded it, and they filed it as a copyright, there's a high probability that there's infringement there. So that's a pretty strong case versus someone who said, I created this song 2 years ago, and then they didn't file it with the copyright, or they didn't take to the Copyright Office, or they didn't take the necessary measures to protect and show that they created that. It's really, really hard to prove. So then it makes it difficult for attorneys to dig and even take a case when they're like, I don't want to, waste your money and spend quite a bit of money in attorney's fees for a case. They may show that you don't own it because someone else went and took the added measure and actually stole that copyright from you. So that's the unfortunate part that happens, that you often hear of these cases. Somebody did write the song, they just can't prove it, and that's unfortunate.
Wow, because I definitely see a lot of this, especially with new media, when you're talking about YouTube and all this sort of stuff, and when people are using music in the background of things. It's not, non-royalty free music, that kind of stuff. So now that tag, and I'm sure you have dealt with this, where if you get flagged on YouTube or you get flagged on Facebook, and I know Instagram has been cracking down as well. If you have music in the background of a video, it'll say BMG Music has identified a tag or something. Is it something electronic that they're putting into the music file itself that kind of throws over to the record labels to let them know, or whoever the entity is, to let them know that, this is because it's a stream, and a stream is money, for artists.
Yeah, absolutely. That is an excellent question, Renee. So yes, it could be what's called metadata that's in there, that, with the world, that we're in such a world of technology where everything, so it could be metadata, or it could be literally within publishing departments and record labels. It is somebody's job to enforce copyright. So there's there's a department where people are actually trolling on the internet and trolling on these respective platforms to see if there's infringement. So physical people are doing it sometimes, and then sometimes it can be technology. So it's twofold. But either way, these brands of this intellectual property they're sitting on, they're money makers, so they're not just going to let anybody use it. So I often tell people the rule of thumb is ask for permission. Because think about it, let's use the analogy in the sandbox when we were kids. If somebody wanted to play with you, say, can I play with you, versus coming to take the shovel from you. It's a different type of interaction you're going to have. All you had to do is ask for permission, and we'll be willing to share. But when you took it without asking, it's not the most friendly environment at that point. So that's literally what it is. Just ask. If you wrote a song, you wouldn't want anybody coming to take it. So you're going to ask, and that's what the whole clearance and licensing process is in place for the content creator or the copyright owner to be able to monetize this creation, this body of work that they created, and then for the person that wants to use it to pay a licensing fee or a flat fee to use it. So that's how commerce is created in music and content creation.
Yeah, and I know that this is Apple, this is iTunes, this is Spotify, this is people who read and so yeah, that's you always see these it always amazes me that these large artists is did you not think that
I know. I know. Oh, sometimes there are a couple of exceptions. There are a couple. Yep, it's funny. It's hilarious. There are a couple of exceptions called fair use exceptions, right? So if someone uses it for a parody, for educational purposes, like if I'm teaching a seminar, I'm not trying to monetize it. I'm just using an example of, maybe a song or a company, and then I'll use it there for educational purposes. Then generally speaking, some people are hard pressed on their brand. They still might not want it to be used, but they generally let that slide. It's just when people are trying to monetize off something, you can understand why somebody would get mad. They're like, if you're trying to make money, why do you think I too want to make money, especially if it's something I created. So it's just about being, courteous, exactly, and asking for the permission. And oftentimes people, if you were able to agree on the licensing terms and the fee for usage, then everybody's happy. They leave happy.
And everybody's fine. And I find it so much easier. And I've got, there's background music and stuff that I use for so many different things. Like if I've heard something, especially an indie artist, I'm a huge, huge, huge supporter of indie artists and all this. And not that, contact them, they're just so happy that somebody even use their music for something. They just absolutely love it. So people, stop jacking other people's stuff. Make this
absolutely
artists, larger artists. If you got your podcast or your YouTube page or whatever, I find that a lot of them are not. It's when they do it without asking. Now here's a question I have. I don't know if you'll know the answer to this, but in YouTube, I know that people think that they can just play a little piece of the song or just a little snippet of a song, from a major artist or whatever, and, it's going to be fine. What is it? Do you know anything about YouTube or even Facebook, or know where we could get more information about that? Is it really true that you could play 30 seconds of the music and then you won't be, as subject to a copyright strike?
I tell people, once again, err on the side of caution. If you are using even a second of someone's music, it is not your music. You did not create it. Ask for permission, because more often than not, it just creates a greater dynamic to do business later. But once again, if somebody takes even 5 seconds of the song, one may think, oh, that's irrelevant, but you use 5 seconds of someone else's song, right? That may help someone's career go through the roof, right? And then it's 5 seconds of a song. So I tell people, err on the side of caution, regardless of the platform, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Just ask, because oftentimes it opens the lines of communication. The license fee may be higher than you budgeted, but guess what you just did when you reached out to that department? That's a new contact you have. So when you do have the budget in place, you can reach out to their licensing department, the sync department, about use of the song or respective catalog. So just think of it as a benefit. You're creating a bigger network, but always ask. I tell people, err on the side of caution and ask. They may say that's overkill, but what you don't want is a cease and desist letter from any of these respective companies, because it puts a very bad taste in their mouth and they remember who has infringed on respective work.
Yeah, and you don't want to be remembered for a cease and desist, because I've had to send out a few myself. So
exactly,
on everybody's list where your lawyer has to send out a cease and desist, and then you stick out for the wrong reason.
Exactly.
Now as a potential collab down the road, because if you introduce yourself and say, "Oh, we'd love to use your music," on our YouTube page, they're going to go to the YouTube page and maybe they see something they like and they want to collab with you. But then you introduced yourself a whole bad way, that I totally get that. Well, thank you for giving us the rundown on the basics of the business and the LLCs, and all these things are so confusing, because I'm telling you, I get this question on the regular. So thank you so much for that. Now we want to learn a little bit more about you. So we had some questions. You guys know that I always send questions to my guests and everything. And tell us some of your hobbies, the things that you like to do when you are not at work, when work shuts off. I know that's very hard for attorneys to shut off, but when you do shut off and disconnect, what are some of the things that you love to do?
I love to travel. I'm a world traveler, so literally, I like to tell people I collect experiences. So I make it a point of duty to leave the country at least 4 times a year to go to a new place to see. Yeah, it's
a goal. That's a goal.
Yeah, yeah. So we get so busy, especially in the States. Just the the way our scheduling, just the demand, it's very important to find your reprieve, to find a release, to find a place where you can just get away. So I like to, this country offers amazing cities and beautiful scenery, but I often like to leave because this is a big world we live in. I know it sounds funny, but literally there's so many places on earth to go to. So that has been something in the last few years that I've done at least 4 times a year, to leave the country. It helps you recharge and regroup and puts perspective on life. It's bigger than America. It's bigger than the respective geographic area that you live in. And then I'm blessed to, as an entertainment attorney, to be pursuing my passion. So legitimately, like, I am getting to go to places that I would go for free. So like live performances, sporting events, like I would do that. I would pay money to do it, but I happen to represent people in that space. So I actually love to go to that stuff. So I'm very grateful, very blessed every time I have an opportunity to go see a client perform at their respective show, to do a live performance. Or I'm from North Carolina originally, so I'm a huge, specifically a huge basketball fan, but I love sports in general, but a massive basketball fan. Went to UNC Chapel Hill undergrad, so tried and true Tar Heel. So I love basketball. Love with that, yeah. So just those are like those traveling, going to live performances and sporting events. I absolutely love.
That's always great. Music is definitely, music was my first love for sure.
Yeah.
I grew up singing for years. My father sang probably since he was 6 or 7 in voice choir groups and adults until his passing last year. My mom's voice is beautiful, So music is a huge thing. I've represented some music artists over the years as well, and that nothing like a live performance. It's something
nothing
to listen to their album, but when they bring out the live instruments and acoustics and all of that, it's so phenomenal when you can perform live, and it's not you doing a lip syncing and all that. It's just it's an art form that is just, I don't think a lot of people appreciate as much as lip syncing and jumping and dancing around. I just love when they just get on a little seat up there with a little spotlight, if they play the piano or if they play the guitar or whatever, or if they're just at the mic singing. I think it's amazing.
That's it. That's a gift. Yeah. It's truly a gift. You're right.
Yeah. Well, tell me what has been your most satisfying moment, like in business? Was there like a milestone thing that happened within your business, or like give me like your most satisfying moment within you being an entrepreneur?
I find my most satisfying moments are often when I'm able to grow with my clients. As we've been growing together, some clients I've been representing from the beginning, and you see the struggle, and as no one likes to hear it, but it's true, struggle builds character, right? And then you start to see some of the success that comes with it. So that's always humbling to be a part of that process. And then also to have the platform when I do speaking engagements, and whether it's small or larger crowds, just to educate and empower, and to watch the light bulb go off when you talk about something like intellectual property, that somebody's like, oh, I thought it was more complex than that, but when you're able to break it down and say, no, it's these thoughts that are in between your ears. God gave us the ability to think freely and be creative. We're all creative. Some just use that more than others. And then it's just creating to let people know that you're a walking asset. What's in your brain, just, to explain the differences between, a copyright, a patent, a trademark, a trade secret, and for that light bulb to go off in people's minds, and for them to, have the fire to want to protect and grow their brand. That's often the most gratifying experience anytime I, speak to, whether it's folks at a university or conference, any platform.
Wow. Yeah, I definitely get that, and I understand that when you said the expression you use, when the light bulb goes off, like when you're speaking to entrepreneurs, and especially female entrepreneurs, and sometimes you don't always know if you're connecting, when you're speaking, depending on how crowded the especially if it's a larger crowd and it's kind of hard to pinpoint faces, you know, and it's a larger crowd. But when you see that person that just says, oh, and they seriously like take notes or, you know, like whip out their, you know, little notepad or whatever and like, oh my goodness, you know, or they come up to you afterwards and say, you know what,
that's right.
I think you said about ABC, whatever. Oh my goodness, that's so cool, you know. So I definitely have to agree. That's amazing. That is amazing. Really. So give us the rundown. Like, tell us what projects you have coming up, anything that we should look out for, where we can find you, how can people contact you. Tell us what projects you have coming and tell us where we can find you.
Perfect. So right now I've been developing, you know, some e-courses. Just like I said, I'm passionate about education and empowerment. So just using a platform, both on social media and then also creating e-courses to talk about, you know, establishing a business entity, for example, and intellectual property rights, just so people will have some nuggets to know that, you know, it's not a far grasp for them. You know, anybody can start a business. It's not for the faint of heart, but it is possible. It's not impossible. So just letting people know that and hopefully having the necessary tools to invest in themselves, first of all, and then to be educated, you know, even at a basic level to know, you know, the difference between a limited liability company, a limited liability partnership, and incorporation, just knowing who to build as mentors on the team, to have a CPA, to have an attorney, to have, you know, a financial advisor when you get to that point in your career, just educating people on being effective entrepreneurs. So those e-courses are a place for, and even my social media platform. And as far as social media, my handle is the same across the board, is at Amy O Said So, and that's on Instagram and Twitter. And I'll often, you know, shoot out, you know, inspirational quotes. I'll shoot out insight about entrepreneurship in the entertainment industry, and you'll just see different content across the board there for me. And on Facebook, you can find me at Amy Oraefo. My last name spelled Oraef as in Frank O. So Amy Oraefo PC, both on LinkedIn and then on Facebook as well. So you can find me under Amy Oraefo. And I just, like I said, I'm just grateful to have a platform where I'm doing what I love and just to help educate and empower entrepreneurs. The point is not to hide the ball, it's to help empower them so that we can create more entrepreneurs, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I thank you so much for giving us this insight. I learned some things myself, which is always a good thing. So thank you so much for agreeing to do this and to talk about this. And we will definitely, you know, share your information out there. And thank you so much, Amy. Thank you so much for your insight. This was very, very helpful. And I know any feedback that I get or any emails or anything that I get for people that are going to ask further questions, I will definitely, you know, shoot that stuff over to you so that, you know, maybe it could turn into some business, you know, you never know. So thank you.
I appreciate that, Renee.
Okay, all right. You guys, once again, thank you so much for tuning in. This is episode 1 of the new season, season 12, episode 1, when we were speaking with the wonderful Amy Oraefo, Esquire. I love the Esquire on the end. I have to give her a And you guys, thank you so much. If you want to find me online, you know how to find me. It's at Onyx Queen Media. That's across the board on everything. If you want to email me, please email me at info@onyxqueenmedia.com, and we'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.